only a five a day. And I was thinking about that because I said to the guys from Murphy's that I would have a look at what cocktails I thought would go with their gins. I think Last Word would be brilliant way of them showing off their London Dry.
I know you're a big fan of Murphy's, aren't you?
I am, yeah. I like good, clean, dry gins. You can put other flavors in there for me, so long as they remain dry. But it's Murphy's is we've really hit it off this weekend. Me and the Murphy clan.
Because you're quite newly introduced to them as well, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's obviously the Irish background that does that. But yeah, so if you've got a gin with any kind of herby profile, some of those forage gins as well, they would be great in a Last Word. Shall I show you how to make one now?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, let's go for it. So I'm going to start off. I've already chilled a glass. I'm using a hot glass because why not? It's a lovely glass. And Last Word is a shaken cocktail, which presumably to offset some of all of that booze. If you shake a cocktail, I'm just reaching down here. Virtually the entire contents of my cocktail cabinet are down below my right hand here. If you shake a cocktail, let me do this sensibly.
Oh, yeah, James Bond.
Cocktail, you get a lot more dilution.
Shaken, not stirred.
Yeah. So if you shake a cocktail, you get a lot more dilution of the alcohol and the other flavors because you're driving the liquid across those ice cubes. You get plenty of air in it. You're also getting plenty of water from the ice. So that would give you a lot of dilution of the alcohol, which is what you want when you're using gin that's 40% if you're lucky, or sometimes more. And green chartreuse is normally 57%. That's, very boozy to begin with. So really easy. It's equal quantities. Now, I don't have any green chartreuse at the moment. At 40 odd pound a bottle, I finish one bottle and then buy another. So I'm using yellow chartreuse, which is less alcoholic and sweeter. But we can go for this. So first of all, get my jigger. 1 measure of lime juice.
Is that a fresh lime juice you're using there?
That was freshly squeezed. I've pickled my fingers this afternoon, squeezing all of those limes. It's a brilliant score just flashed up then for the amount of money that's coming for hospitality action. There's still time for raising more though.
Definitely.
So a couple of tips I always go for when I'm mixing cocktails. I watch professionals do it and they, not even looking what they're doing. I think, God, I wish I could be that good. So a couple of tips. When I'm shaking a cocktail, I like to use Boston shakers because you've got more room then. And I fill the glass so that I can see what I'm doing and if I'm making any mistakes. So that's one tip. The second one is go through your ingredients in order of price. So that if you make a mistake, you're not throwing away your expensive ingredients, you're throwing away the cheaper end. So we start with ice, and then we add lime juice. Now, on this occasion, my next cheapest ingredient is the gin, because I'm only using a bog standard supermarket gin tonight. Because we're in lockdown, the guys from Murphy's couldn't run over and bring me a bottle, but I shall look forward to tasting it when I've ordered some mail order. So 1 measure of gin, 1 measure of chartreuse, now that's the colour it is at the moment. If I'd used green chartreuse, it would be a lot brighter green than that. And finally, 1 measure of cherry-flavoured maraschino liqueur. I always do that, put my jigger down in the wrong place. Do you know last night at 11 o'clock at night, somebody rang me up to say how much they'd enjoyed watching last night. And then he said, but I noticed in that coffee video you didn't know where your bottles were. So I'm making the same mistake again tonight. Get my shaker, make sure it's in firmly, and give it a good shake. It's going to make a lot of noise, so I'll say this now. This, I want a lot of dilution, so I'm going to shake it until my hand can't stand the cold anymore. Get in there. I'll do. With my strainer, I wish you could smell this because it's the most amazing smell. There we go. Into that glass. And I shall finish that. Oops, where am I? With the maraschino cherry. So that's the last word that I'm doing first, ironically. Cheers to you there.
No, I wish I had one of them to sit with you.
Oh, it's an amazing cocktail, John. You would love it. I will just pop that one out of the way. You can't really describe it. It's got these layers and layers and layers of flavour. And it's just stunning. It is probably worth saying that's just as good with the yellow chartreuse as with the green. I prefer it with the green because it's got more of a punch. It's a bit drier, more herbs to the front. If you're not as keen on chartreuse, then the yellow would suit you better. And the other thing that's great to know is they are available in miniatures, so you don't have to spend £40 just to make one cocktail. If you go to somewhere like Evil Eye in York, you can get miniatures. I'm sure there are other people around who also do that. One of the things I would invite people to do, give us a shout out on the comments, is where is your favourite spirit shop? Where do you go for your cocktail ingredients? Let's get some adverts out for our favourite northern independent spirit merchants. So that's the last word. I'm not sure what I would serve with that in terms of food. I would probably just get drunk on it on one night. It's far too interesting to put with food. I'm just noticing a comment here from Dana Thomas, and she says she's been following me for ages. So hi Dana, thanks for following me. It's good to know that I've got somebody out there. And she's Claire, please come over. I would love to serve you 2, 3, 4 of them. You'll be under the table after 2, so I'll have. It
might work well with some of Claire's gins, actually. That
I think it probably worked extremely well with Claire's gins, because of the kind of the foraged herbs that she's using. I think it would be beautiful with Claire's gins. Yeah,
definitely.
And Dana has asked me, what would you say were the top 5 absolute must-have items on your booze shelf? Gin, definitely. I would also say definitely triple sec. I prefer triple sec to Cointreau. It's a matter of personal taste, really, but you can get, you can usually get good quality triple sec cheaper than you can get supermarket Cointreau. So I'd rather get triple sec. But a Curacao orange liqueur, I think, should be in everybody's shelf because it's so useful for cocktail making. You use it in a margarita, you would use it in a white lady. You just brings that little bit of oranginess to everything you do.
Would so Claire Edge Gin's got her orange gin. Would that work with it?
I think I would want to do something else with Claire's orange gin. And I messaged her this afternoon with it and said a gin Ricky, which is what I was drinking this afternoon. It's very, very hot outside. I think the orange gin would go well with citrusy drinks. Although there is lime in a last word, the dominant flavour is the herbs. So I would say with Claire's orange gin, definitely a white lady would be perfect. But also the gin Ricky, like I was drinking, it's just a simple matter of a splash of sugar syrup, half a lime squeezed and then dropped into the glass, a shot of gin, and a splash of soda water. It's a lovely summer drink. Very, very old.
Funny enough, she loves that idea.
I'm not surprised. It's gorgeous. But you can also have the last word with me as well, Claire. Don't worry. You're not limited to one cocktail. Yeah, it's a very old cocktail. It dates back to about 1860, Washington DC. I imagine the summers in DC, edge of the swamp, just around the time of the Civil War. You need something to cool off a little bit. That's not too alcoholic. But I think gin Ricky would be perfect for one of Claire's gins for the orange one that she does. We spoke yesterday about some of her other gins and how you would use those. So I've started in all sorts of wrong places, but there you go. We can drink anything in any order, can't we? In this talk,
definitely. It sounds really good.
Let's talk about spritzes because spritz are really, really popular.
Yep.
And the thing about spritz is everybody thinks that spritz has to be made with Aperol. Now, Aperol is a great aperitif ingredient. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I use it in all sorts of things. But I also think that spritz suffers by only being made with Aperol. You can use it in all sorts of. You can use all sorts of other bittering ingredients in there. I'm a big fan of Campari, so I would make spritz with Campari instead of Aperol, which is a more bitter flavour. But then also, I noticed Simon yesterday was making one of the drinks he made was with Cynar, which is an Italian Amaro that is made, believe it or not, with artichokes. And I think if you're going to use Aperol to make a spritz, it's really nice if you just put a few, a little bit of Cynar in there as well. So, maybe 2/3 Aperol, 1/3 Cynar, and then put your Prosecco on top of that. Use limoncello in there, either with your Aperol or instead of Aperol. Add, if you want a lower alcohol one, put some orange juice in, or orange juice and Aperol. Or the other one is Martini have recently released, about 12 months ago now, an orange flavoured vermouth that they designed for mixing with tonic water. And the idea is you do it 50-50 with tonic. And that is, I've written it down before we went on. It's called Martini Fiero. And that would make a great spritz, to be honest. That would, really liven up your spritz with those orange and herb flavours going on. It would be really great. Oh God, Dan, that would be a horrific thing. I'm so glad you've got some now. You'd be without your Negroni, without Campari and soda, without Americano. There are so many things that you aren't able to do. I still haven't finished answering. I think it was Claire who asked me what the five. Oh, Dana asked 5 absolute items. Campari is one of those for me. So where did I go? Gin, triple sec, Campari. I would have to say red vermouth as well. It's just actually, well, there you go. Red vermouth and white vermouth. Those would be 5 ingredients, because that would give me access to all sorts of drinks. Which brings me on to this one. Haha, that's a nice way into a new cocktail. This one reminds me of my time working in a religious community in St Helens. Unfortunately, it's no more. Sorry, I'll just clean my jigger.
It's a small world in St Helens, isn't it?
It's a very small world. So I used to work at Loyola Hall, and the Jesuits who ran the retreat centre at Loyola Hall, everybody thinks that, kind of religious people are terribly pious and, stuck up. And any feast day, they would gather together to celebrate Mass, usually around about 12 o'clock-ish, half 11, 12 o'clock. And as soon as Mass was over, they would mix a cocktail. And this is the cocktail they used to always have. It's become my partner's favourite cocktail. So I'm going to do this for him, and afterwards he can have the spur. So ice in the glass. I'm going to mix this one straight into the glass. It doesn't need any shaking or anything. So ice into the glass, and then if I just get my jigger. Again, I love these simple cocktails that are just one of that, one of that, one of that. There they are. Again,
do you stick with classical cocktail recipes then?
I do. Well, don't stick with them, but I love them.
Okay.
I will just, before I do this cocktail, I'll just show you this. This is my Bible. This is Harry Craddock's cocktail book from 1930. It's still in print. It contains all kinds of recipes and even illustrations by Harry Craddock. And you would be surprised how many cocktails you think are modern are in here. So if I come across a cocktail, the name of a cocktail, that would be the first place I go to find out about it. If it's not as old as 1930, it won't be in there. And then I would try Difford's Guide on the internet. But I love those old cocktails. And I think, without trying to sound too pretentious, Picasso once said that in order to paint ladies with the noses up here and three eyes, he had to first learn how to draw like Rembrandt. And you'll know that as a chef, you have to get your basics first.
Yeah, get the basics, get the foundations.
Yeah.
Well, that's the issue with a lot of chefs nowadays. They go jumping in with all 2 feet, go into gastronomy before they know how to make a simple stock or a roux.
Yeah, and I think it's the same with cocktails. The bartenders who are really inventive and doing really well balanced cocktails have learned about these old cocktails, like an old fashioned. Old fashioned dates back to 1806, believe it or not, or probably longer. Let me think of some of the others. Sherry Cobbler. Sherry Cobbler is about 1870. And then, the big takeoff in the 1920s, cocktails like a Pink Lady, which predates a White Lady, like a Pink Lady from about 1916. You've got a Mary Pickford, which, as the name suggests, dates back to the era of silent films. If you understand those cocktails and where they're coming from and how you make them, then you understand what you're doing when you start playing with other flavors and inventing new things. And I wonder if I just put a touch of this in, and what would it taste like if I blended it with that instead? So it's not that I prefer the older cocktails. I love the older cocktails. Don't get me wrong. I'm absolutely steeped in them. But I also like new ones. And later on, if we've got time, I will show you one that's less than 12 months old. I know this because I invented it myself last summer. So anyway, the Trinity. A Trinity is this cocktail that the Jesuits used to make. It's in Harry Craddock's book. It's at least 1930 and before. And as the name suggests, it contains 3 ingredients in equal measure. First one is white dry vermouth. I'm using Dolan tonight because that's what I've got in, but you can see I've not got a lot of it left.
New bottles in order there, then.
Oh gosh, yes. I don't know which one I'll buy next. I tend to, with my vermouths, I tend to swing around and move from one to another quite easily. And I'll finish the bottle of Dolan and then think, oh, what shall I try next? So next, some red vermouth. Now this is Spanish, and it's made from the liquor inside is made from sherry, but it's then been treated like a vermouth, so it's been steeped with herbs, fortified, sweetened. The Spanish are almost obsessive about their vermouth. We think of vermouth as an Italian or French drink. The capital, the real home of vermouth making is Spain. It's a national obsession there, and in fact, I was talking last night about the idea of aperitif, meaning both the drink and the culture of taking an hour or two with your family and friends to have a rest. In Spanish, the word for that culture, that moment that you take time with your family and friends, is called vermut. It means, is a vermouth. And so finally, 2 types of vermouth in there. And 1 measure of my gin. Now, this one, definitely Claire's orange gin. Would be stunning in this. And then I'm going to garnish that with a slice of lemon, give it a quick stir, put the beloved's favourite seahorse stirrer in it. It's a nice colour. It's lighter than a martini. If you find martinis too powerful, this is lighter than that. The emphasis is very much on the vermouth in there. So cheers. Well, that's full of really well balanced spices. The addition of the Dolan stops it becoming too sweet. Okay. But and keeps it all nice and light. So that one I shall give to the beloved afterwards. He's not getting his hands on my last word though. I won't let him.
Kath just said this was one of her dad's favourite drinks.
Yes, Kath's dad is a monk that went over the wall as well. And Kath's an old friend, so I know this. So yeah, I think it probably is. I think the name made it popular in religious communities, and why not?
Yeah, definitely.
So those 2, you've got 2 very herby ones, but very different in profile. Claire, I love the seahorses as well. Somebody asked me, on Twitter, because on social media I follow a challenge each year called Gin a Day May. I don't know whether Claire, you must have heard of it. And the idea of Gin a Day May is not you drink a gin a day, although that would be very easy to do, but you photograph a gin every day and post a photograph, and each day is published a challenge. And the challenge a couple of days ago was glassware. So
very hard glassware to work with. There's so much out there, and knowing what to pick with glassware is very difficult.
Yeah, and I think with cocktails, pick something that looks good. It's as simple as that. Everybody thinks that all cocktails have to be served in a Windsor Martini glass.
And half the time that's very wrong for them.
I think so too. I think
suits a martini, great. Absolutely. But not every cocktail out there.
No. Last word, in a hock glass, because Britain doesn't drink hock anymore. So, your granny's 1970s hock glasses with a green stem, put them in your cocktail cabinet. They're fabulous for, any kind of cocktail that's got a bit of colour in it. They show off the colour really, really well. A glass like that, I tend to think of that one. It's kind of heavy bottom. It is V-shaped, but it's not as steeply shelved as a martini glass would be. I tend to think of that one as kind of being really suitable for Manhattan, anything like that. So, and kind of a longer brown drink. I don't know how else to describe it really. So I've got time, haven't I? Right. So let's.
We've got loads of time. We're the last on tonight, so we've got loads of time. We can go into the night. Why not?
Why not? Has anybody got any questions why we're here? Because that's always good. I'll tell you one thing I do want to do.
Can I stop you there quickly, Paul?
Yeah.
I've just got a massive announcement to make. Someone has just made a large, fantastic donation to Hospitality Action of £150.
Oh,
I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much, guys.
That is so important, isn't it?
Very much so.
So whoever you are, we'll make this next drink for you.
Very much so.
So, well, this one is. I'm really proud of this drink, actually. There's quite there's a story behind every cocktail. It's part. You know, Simon was talking yesterday about the theatre of cocktails, and how, you know, I could easily mix, you know, those ingredients quietly in a corner and give them a stir, but pouring them into a shaker, giving it this, straining it out, garnishing it with the cherry, you know, all of that, it adds to the theatre, the excitement of it. There's also the mythology that goes with cocktail making too. It gives you something to talk about. This is why, you know, bartenders who are cocktail waiters are revered. Mixologists are revered above others because they know this mysterious shit. Sorry, it's later on at night. I'm sure we'll be okay. But they know the mysterious stuff. They understand alchemy somehow, and so the history and the talk about, you know, and that kind of tradition that if I invent a cocktail, I get to name it, and everybody else has to call it the same thing until they change the ingredients. So the story of this cocktail is that last summer, a national journalist was tweeting out into the atmosphere questions about a drink that her father or grandfather used to talk about from the Navy, called a mermaid's kiss. And nobody could answer what it was. Everybody remembered some horrible drink from the 1980s that involved blue curacao and cream soda, and lots of paper lanterns and plastic monkeys and all the rest of it that we put in cocktails in the 1980s. But that was called Mermaid's Kisses, and that wasn't the drink we can be fairly certain that her father or grandfather was drinking in the Navy. So somebody copied me into this tweet and said, "Paul, do you know anything about this?" And I said, "You know, I'll do some research." So I went digging, and I went through the fine art of mixing drinks, and I went through Difford's Guide, and I went through Harry Craddock's book from the 1930s. I could find nothing. So I suspect it's probably naval slang for something you shouldn't talk about on shore. But then I said, well, I'll tell you what, Zoe. If you want, I'll make you that cocktail. I'll create one. And off the top of my head, whilst I was on the train coming home from work, I said, oh, it would have this and this and this in it. And within about 3 minutes, I got a message back from her saying, great, give me your name so we can verify your identity and a link to your blog, and I'll include the recipe in my article at the weekend. The problem was, I was on the train going home and guessing at what I could put in a cocktail. So the minute I got home, I says to my partner, get out to the shop and get me a bottle of Prosecco. I've got to find out if this works. Mercifully, it did. So I'm going to show you a Mermaid's Kiss. It's dedicated to the extremely generous donor. and found its way into the Guardian last summer in Zoe Williams's column. So I always give her a mention because that did me no end of good to be tweeted by Zoe Williams. So I'm going to start with a Coupette glass. This is one of my favourite glasses. This I picked it up in a charity shop. There were 3 of them. There's now only 1 left. But it's a small size, and actually, you can't make a small enough amount for 1 glass. It's too difficult to do. So I'm going to make enough mixture for 2 or 3 glasses and just show you one. So I got to thinking about what a mermaid would be like, what the experience of being kissed by a mermaid would be like. And I thought to myself, well, it's going to be salty, but it's also going to be sweet.
Yes.
So I thought, well, because she's a mermaid. Lovely, beautiful lady.
Sweet and salt.
Sweet and salt. So I'm going to rim the glass with a mixture of sugar and salt. So the principal flavour in this is going to be Italicus liqueur. Now, I get this from an Italian bistro in Harrogate called Stuzzi, which is a fabulous bistro, and they've got one in Leeds. I don't know where else I would get it from because it's only on the corner near me that I normally go. So I've never looked for it anywhere else. But it's become a very popular ingredient. I noticed it on the shelf behind Simon yesterday when he was doing his masterclass. It's flavoured with the same Italian fruit as flavours Earl Grey tea. It's made from bergamot, which is a kind of very fresh, floral, lemony sort of aroma about it. It's also got rose petals, lavender, chamomile, all sorts of other things in there, but the predominant aroma is that of bergamot. So I'm just going to put a drop of it in a glass so that I can wet the rim of my glass. Please remind me that that's on my left. I'm just going to dip my... It's clean hands, don't worry. I've washed my hands very, very thoroughly before I started tonight. I'm just going to dip my finger in there and run it about half of the way around the rim of the glass.
Okay.
And then I have in this bowl here a mixture of fine sea salt and caster sugar. So I'm just going to dip that in. There we go. And I will leave that to dry while I'm mixing up the rest of the drink. Now, you might wonder why I've only done half the glass.
Yeah.
And there's 2 reasons. Not everybody enjoys salt on a drink. So if you don't enjoy it, you can always drink from the other side of the glass. And secondly, because mermaids are mysterious creatures. And if I only do half the glass, it adds an air of mystery to it, and people start asking questions. So it is, as simple as that. So I get a jug. I'm just order a jug out the cupboard. If I were working in a great, well-equipped cocktail bar, I would have several cut glass mixing glasses to myself, but I don't. So I'm going to use a jug. I'm going to load my jug with ice, and then again, start with the cheapest ingredient and work through. So I learned a tip from Stephanie Moon this afternoon. I was watching Stephanie doing her barbecue or whatever you call it in the garden, and I noticed that on top of every Tupperware box that she had all her ingredients chopped up in, she had on top, on top of the chopped tomatoes, she had a tomato sitting there. On top of the chopped shallot, she had a shallot sitting on top of it. So I have learnt from Stephanie, and I'm distinguishing my 2 citrus juices by sitting a lemon on top of this glass. So I know which one was lemon juice and which was lime. So again, just measure now. I've got one of these in my kitchen that I use for all sorts of things, but it's very useful for making cocktails. One of the things I would say is, when if you're making something like a Negroni or a Trinity where you're mixing 3 types of alcohol, you might not want a full shot. And so something like this is really great because you can lower your quantity to 20 mils, and rather than a full 25 milliliter shot, or even 30, which some of them are, which could kill you. Well, say kill you, you know what I mean. You don't want to be too drunk at the end of the night. So anyway, I'm going to use 20 milliliters on this occasion, if I can find measures. So there you go. 20 ml of lemon juice. I'm then going to add, if I can find it, it's down here somewhere, I know it is. Excuse me a moment, talk among yourselves. Oh, there it is. It's colourless, I can't see it. Vodka.
I see that's the Lakes vodka as well.
This is the Lakes vodka. I wouldn't normally recommend using a vodka this smooth, this good in a cocktail. But on this occasion, I want that smoothness. What I want is for the vodka to be almost unnoticed. And that's the great thing that the Lakes distillery has. It's a vodka for drinking neat. It is too nice, really, for mixing with other things.
You absolutely love and rave about this vodka as well. We've had plenty of chats in the last couple of weeks when we've been in the running to organising all this about this vodka and about their whiskies.
Well, all the spirits that the Lakes Distillery do, I think they're fantastic. They also do flavoured vodka liqueurs and flavoured gin liqueurs. But I was raving about their gin last night when you didn't catch that. But I was saying how much of a fan of the pink grapefruit gin I am. But this vodka is so smooth. It's like drinking silk, and I've never had that experience with vodka before. Because the problem is, you discover a vodka you discover that you like vodka, and then you've got to start buying it. Well, hey ho. So I only want the same quantity of vodka as I've used lemon juice, because what the vodka is doing more than anything else is giving the fishy lady a bit of strength in her tail. You kiss her too much and she'll slap you. So vodka, lemon juice, 20 mils of each. And then I want a little bit more of the Italicus liqueur. So I'm going to put 30 mils of Italicus. I'll get my spoon. Oops. Give it a stir.
Time for the noisy part.
I'm using the noisy part. Yeah. And all I'm doing here really is chilling this. I don't want to dilute it too much. Because I'm about to add Prosecco to it. That will dilute it. So I'm then going to half fill, or just more than half full. There we go. About that much in my coupe of the mixture. Oops, sorry. And top up with Prosecco. So you're only really adding a splash of Prosecco in there. It's just lightening the drink. It's not a full, like a Kia Royale would be, 3/4 champagne. This isn't like that. It's just lightening the drink slightly. Now, if you want to garnish that, I would just put half a slice of lemon in there. But I actually think with the salt rim, it's nice enough ungarnished. Now, I forget the exact phrase that Zoe Williams used for it, but I think she described it as bitter, sweet, delicious, and just a little bit dirty. And Kath, who's been tweeting, said, "Oh, it describes you, Paul." So, there you are, to the person who made the very generous donation. Thank you very much for that. This is a mermaid's kiss in your honour. It's bitter, sweet, delicious, and just a little bit dirty. It tastes of lemon, bergamot, lavender, all sorts of interesting things, and is beautiful before a summer dinner.
Yeah, very much so. Thank you very much for that donation. It means a lot to the charity.
Mm.
And we're on course, actually, to be hitting our £1,000 tonight. We've got a couple interesting ideas we're flying about in a minute. So, yeah. Also, last night, Zach Gilbert was on the music. He was the second act on last night. So his CDs are available to purchase for £10. For every CD, we are going to donate £4 of that. Tonight, similar to that, we've also got Josh Owen on from Hit the Dance Floor also. He's going to be sending out a file of his music for any donation over £10 to his tip box tonight, and he will be donating 50% of the money of that. It goes straight over to Hospitality Action. Also, all the chefs are just in the collaboration at a minute, a very new thing. We're going to create a recipe book, a virtual recipe book to be sent out. It will be purchased on behalf of Hospitality Action. So a brand new concept coming about very shortly.
That's a brilliant idea. That's great. Can I ask you, by the way, Sean, the videos of the talks and chats and the pre-recorded videos that have been available during this weekend, are they going to be on the website or on the Facebook site for a while?
So they will stay on our Facebook page. The Facebook page is going to be staying active. Right. More because we're also in discussions, depending on how this lockdown goes and everything going on. We may be doing a August Northern Food and Drink virtual festival on the August bank holiday.
That's brilliant news.
So you may see us all again in about 2 months' time. But yeah, all the links will stay on the Facebook page and they'll stay on the YouTube page for the Vicinity future.
That's brilliant news. A couple more things I wanted to talk about, because the Murphy's Gin, like I say, I agreed to check up on some of the flavour profiles of their gins and suggest some cocktails. So I want to make sure I'm discharging my responsibilities here. The Murphy's Orange and Passion Fruit. Now, we've already talked about with the orange gin. Murphy's Orange Gin would go in a Trinity just as easily. So many of the gins that we've been seeing this weekend would make fabulous martinis, and that kind of almost goes without saying. This is try it with a martini, and then you can also try these, no matter what gin it is. But the other thing that I thought about that, I thought, with the Orange and Passion Fruit gin, I want to try and play with that a bit, and so the passion fruit element of it, the fragrant nature of passion fruit, I thought I would want to mix that with sake or Japanese plum wine, and do a kind of Japanese variant on a martini. I tend to call it either an umitini if it's been made with plum wine, and a sakatini if it's made with sake. And I would say about 1 measure of the plum wine or sake, you choose, to 4 measures of gin. And I think that would really kind of complement the passion fruit element of the Murphy's Gin.
Sake is a very interesting drink, isn't it? Because not many people actually drink it.
I love it, but then I like Japanese food as well. I like food. Let's be honest. I like food and I like drinking, so it's but sake it's a bit unusual flavour, and the tradition is that it's served warm, which puts a lot of people off, or people find that challenging at first until they get used to it. And the other thing is, you don't traditionally in Japan, you don't pour your own sake. That would be considered bad manners. So you wait for somebody else to offer you a sake and let them pour you, and you pour somebody else. Now, following that tradition, if I've done it here at home, what we've found is that if you've got an empty glass and you offer to pour somebody else, they take the hint. Oh, would you like one as well, Paul? So sake is an interesting drink. I first came across sake in a noodle bar in Liverpool in about 1992, 3-ish. And they used to serve warm sake and gin in equal measures in one glass. So there's this warm gin sake thing going on in your mind. And to be honest, it wasn't the nicest drink, but mixed as a martini, so that you've got far more of the gin than you have the sake, and served cold, it's a delicious drink. So that's what I would do with Murphy's orange and passion fruit. And with the pomegranate, I would play on the pomegranate. I'd make a pink lady. Pomegranate and lime leaf gin. I think, a pink lady, there's nowhere to hide in a pink lady. It's gin, grenadine cordial, and egg white. And you shake it hard, it comes out hot pink colour with a pale pink foam on it. I'd serve it in one of these glasses. It's glorious. There is on my YouTube channel. There's a video of me showing you how to make a pink lady. And if there's somebody who loves me that's out there, could you just comment with a link to my YouTube channel, please, so that we can put it up.
Can they also find that link dead easy on your Twitter handle, at the Aperitif Guy?
Yes, if they look for it on the Aperitif Guy, or if they look in the Spirits tent. I posted it first thing yesterday morning in the Spirits tent.
That's lovely. It's dead easy. And you also host a session on Twitter, don't you, every night?
Yeah, throughout the lockdown. This was my kind of commitment right from the very beginning of the lockdown. I said to my partner, I hope you don't mind, if we're doing nothing every evening, I want to be available for people who might be isolated. So every evening on Twitter from 6:30 to 8:00, I host a social time, and it's not for selling things, it's not for anything else. It's just a chat. And so if you want to tune into that, use the hashtag #AperoTime, and I'll find you if you use that hashtag. Anytime 6:30 to 8 on a weekday evening. I'm not counting tonight as a weekday. I'm doing this instead. But just join the chat, and it's for people who are feeling chatty and upbeat, as well as for people who are feeling isolated, because we need both. If you're feeling isolated, you want people to cheer you up. So it does require people who are chatty, people who are sharing some news, people who are just a little bit down and looking for some comfort. Wherever it is, just tune in, use that hashtag, and we'll make conversation with you. It'll be great.
Yeah, definitely. It would be really good, that.
Have we got time for a really dirty one?
We've got plenty of time, because we can just run through.
All right. Well, I'm going to
I've not got to set up any music tonight. I'm nice and relaxed and chilled out. So.
Okay. Well, I'm going to make you one that's very typical of the southern United States. It's a variation on an old-fashioned. I know. We saw Simon yesterday. I'm just chilling my glass. We saw Simon yesterday making an old-fashioned, and he was shockingly generous. Used the Lakes Distillery Whiskey Makers #1 edition, and I thought, that's brave. And I've got a bottle in, and I thought, no, I'm not doing that. I'll leave that sort of thing to Simon. If he wants to spend money on that, I'll leave that to him. But I thought I'd make a rum cocktail, because then we've had some gin cocktails, we've had a vodka cocktail. I'd make a rum cocktail. I was the guys at Lost Dock were very generous in sending me a sample of their rum so that I could taste my way through it and decide what cocktails it might go with. And this one came to mind, but unfortunately, I've used up all their rum. So I'm not going to make that one with their rum. I'm going to make it with another rum. But what I would say is this will be a great cocktail for Liverpool Lost Dog rum. And the minute I get out my first ingredient, you'll understand why I said a dirty one. I'm going to rinse the glass with absinthe. Again, you can get miniature bottles of absinthe. Don't spend
I'm
money
sure
on...
you don't need them.
Yeah, depends if you like them.
Why go for a mini?
Yeah. So this glass has been in the freezer. It was in the freezer for a couple of hours actually before I started, and then it's been in my cool box ever since. Because I knew I was going to do this, so that'll do. Put a splash of absinthe in the bottom. And then in my little tray here, I've got some crushed ice. So I'm going to put crushed ice in there as well, with all the water that's sitting in the ice. It can all go in. And that is now just going to sit and carry on cooling while I make the rest of the drink. So, got another half a Boston cup here. Now, this, by the way, I should have told you, the drink I'm making is called a Sazerac. And it's got an interesting history, and there's all kinds of arguments over what spirit should be in it. If you go to the States, if you go to St. Louis, sorry, if you go to, it's not St. Louis, if you go to New Orleans, it's really, really typical, New Orleans, Louisiana. And you might get bourbon, you might get rye, or you might, in the French Quarter in New Orleans, you might get cognac. Or you could get a combination of any two or three of those things. But then I'm playing silly buggers tonight. I'm going to use rum.
Oh, very nice.
And the reason I'm going to use rum is that the slight sweetness, the finesse of the Liverpool Lost Dog rum, and the vanilla and other lovely flavours. The subtlety of that rum was amazing. I was really surprised by it. I really enjoyed it. I'm not a lover of discreet rum. I want my rum to be full of molasses and whatever else. So I was surprised that I really enjoyed that rum. It's so fine, and it reminded me of the kind of bourbon and cognac mix. And I thought I can do a really nice Sazerac with that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ice in the bottom of my Boston cup. I'm going to add a splash of gum syrup. Now, traditionally, a barman should muddle a sugar cube with a drop of water and some bitters. And I can't be bothered with all of that. It's just as easy to put a teaspoon of gum in the bottom of your drink. It doesn't taste any different, and it's a lot simpler.
Gum's a great little thing to use as well. A lot of cocktail artists use it, and a lot of general people won't understand what gum is.
No.
And how easy it is to make. So it's basically, it's a simple syrup.
Yeah, it's sugar and water. Squirt of lemon juice sometimes helps. Bring it to the boil, simmer for 5 minutes, let it cool, shove it in the fridge. It'll keep for a couple of weeks in the fridge. But again, I'm lazy, so I buy bottles of it. Very naughty of me. So I'm going to add to my sugar syrup, I'm going to add Angostura bitters. I'll never get used to which direction I need to move for this camera. Angostura bitters. And I want 1 splash of Angostura. And then a different kind of bitters. There's not only Simon, and the blind bus driver can play with bitters. So I'm going to use Peychaud's bitters. Peychaud's is really typical of Louisiana. It's how would I describe the smell? Nutmeg. There's plenty nutmeg in there. It's wonderful. So I want 2 splashes of patience. 1, 2. There we go. So I've got plenty of bitters in there. I've got some sugar syrup. I'll give that a quick whisk. And then I'm going to add a measure of rum. I know this isn't from the north, but it's a really good rum. This is from the south bank of London, the southeast London, but it's a really good rum. This one's drier than the Liverpool Lost Dog, so it's not going to give me exactly the effect I want. But that's the rum I've got in, so I'm going to use it. But I would say this drink, traditionally bourbon, rye, or cognac, but for this festival, I would say use the Liverpool Lost Dog. And I want a generous measure in there, so I'll put 35 mils in. We're not messing around with this drink.
Definitely. Why not? 35 mils is the Irish measure, so why not?
Why not? There you go. So there we go. That's a bit quieter than the end I used last time.
The quiet end and the loud end.
Yeah. Do you know I've been doing the clap for carers on a Thursday night, and I've been using my bar spoon in a mixer, in a shaker, to make plenty noise. It's better than beating pans, and it's more me, isn't it? Let's be honest. So give that a little stir, half a minute, maybe a touch more. Again, you don't want to dilute it too much. So I've finished with that now. This was the glass. Sorry, I just need to. There we go. This was a glass that was chilling with the absinthe in it. All I'm going to do now, I'm going to drain out the absinthe water into a shot glass. And then get rid of the ice. So there's my shot glass of chilled ice, absinthe water. No point in wasting that. And then in my now chilled glass, strain my spirit mixture in there. And we're going to finish traditional garnish with a piece of lemon peel. So just around the rim and drop it into the drink. So that is a Sazerac made with rum. So that one's for you, Liverpool Lost Dog. Give it your own name. I'll give you this one. Whatever you want to call it. A Sazerac made with rum. And this is... I can smell lemon peel. I can smell aniseed. I can smell the spices. And then when I drink it, I get the lovely depth of sugar from that rum. And I've also got an absinthe chaser.
No, you've got to have a chaser. Why not?
It's not often you have an absinthe chaser, though, is it? So those are my drinks. As you can tell, like I say, I love cocktails. I love the history of cocktails. And I think, whereas last night I was talking about kind of more relaxed social drinking, and the simple drinks that you would go for with that. These are for an occasion where you want to impress people, aren't they? Maybe where you've got less people coming, so you've got more time. But the other thing is, I would say there's nothing wrong with inviting people for a short drinks party. We seem to think that if I invite guests over at 7, I've got to put up with them till midnight. Well, there are occasions where I want my guests to be there from 7 till midnight, and when I'm cooking, that's ideal. But then the other thing I've learned is that nobody objects to being invited for a drinks party from 7 till 9. And it's clear that you're going home again at 9. Bye-bye. And when I've had cocktail parties, and I've learned to do this now, is invite people to a cocktail party and specify on the invitation, this cocktail party is from, 7 till 9, 6:30 to 8:30, whatever it might be, just a couple of hours. And people have said actually that they appreciate not being expected to give up a whole evening. They can go and do things with other friends as well then. They can get 2 social events in one evening.
Definitely.
So don't be afraid, I would say to people, of getting some friends around for a couple of cocktails, but then telling them to bugger off home after a couple of hours. Because you're going to be smashed if you're drinking this sort of thing all night. You're better off having a couple of these at the beginning of the night and then changing the mood.
Yeah, definitely. What would you recommend for a good all-day cocktail?
A good all-day cocktail? I suppose it depends on what time you start drinking in the morning, really. I like the idea of a Bloody Mary, but I have to say, I get the ingredients in for a weekend and think, oh, it's a bank holiday Monday. We'll have a Bloody Mary with brunch. And then I look at it and I think, I don't want vodka at this time in the morning. So I think probably, and again, this probably says more about me than anything else. I think a mimosa. A mimosa is it's an orange and champagne drink, but it's not a Bucks Fizz. It's a Bucks Fizz with a kick. And I have regular discussions with my sister about this, who lives in the States and thinks that mimosa is just another name for a Bucks Fizz. It's not. If I make a Bucks Fizz, I will half fill a flute with orange juice and top up with champagne. So I've pulled the alcohol content down substantially. It's about 6% alcohol by the time I've finished. If I make a mimosa, I'll start with a jug. There we go. And I will mix 2/3 orange juice and 1/3 triple sec. Or mandarin juice and mandarin Napoleon. Or I have tried it with Italicus. It's delicious with Italicus too. That starts to get expensive. But you put a liqueur into your orange juice to push the alcoholic content of the orange juice up and to boost its flavour. But then it's only 1/3 of that orange juice mixture and the rest is champagne. And I think that's a much more rounded flavour, much more interesting cocktail than Bucks Fizz. I think I'd rather have pure orange juice than Bucks Fizz. It's neither one thing nor the other, but a mimosa is different. The other thing, if I was doing a mimosa, I would probably sugar the rim of the glass and use Angostura bitters as me damp to glue the sugar to the glass. So that gives another interest to the flavour. But yes, I could drink mimosa most of the day and keep going for best part of a day drinking it. Yeah. I've got to decide now which of these cocktails I'm going to carry on drinking. I'm going to be a lush and drink the Sazerac. So nobody yet has come up with their favourite spirit shops. Another question I've been thinking about over this weekend is, does anybody in the north of England make their own vermouth? I would love to use one of the spirits, one of the gins that we've been seeing this weekend, to create with an English vermouth and a Northern English vermouth to create a Northern martini. I've not seen one yet. I know, is it Gusborne that occasionally produce vermouth as an experiment. I've just seen a question from Sue that I'll come to in a second. Yeah. But I would love to kind of create the idea, to serve one night a Northern vermouth, a Yorkshire vermouth, a Lancashire vermouth, a Cumbria vermouth, Cumbria martini, whatever. But I want to do that. So if anybody knows of vermouth made in the north of England, please get in contact with me. Tweet me, message me now if you know of it, so that I can do that. So, Sue, I do, yes, have some non-alcoholic cocktails. I've not got stuff with me for making them. I'll hands up. But what I would say is, this stuff makes anything taste good.
Good bit of bitters.
Yeah. When I was a student, I used to pay about £3 a bottle for that. It's now about £10, £11 a bottle. But then I think I've only bought 4 bottles in the 30 years between me being a student and now. So we have to be sensible about this. You only ever use a couple of splashes. Angostura bitters in lemonade or soda water makes lemonade or soda water taste like an adult drink. So that's definitely worth having. Now, there is alcohol in Angostura bitters, but you're only using a couple of drips. So your finished drink will have less than 0.5% alcohol.
Which is very interesting, that really, isn't it?
Yeah. If you want an absolutely alcohol-free one, then I posted on the website somewhere, it must be in one of the tents, I posted a link to a blog I wrote about alcohol-free drinks.
I think it was the non-food and drink.
Was it the non-food and drink one?
I think maybe.
So, Sue, if you have a look in the non-food and drink tent, there'll be a link to a blog post I wrote about non-alcoholic drinks. Because the starting point of that blog was that my neighbour downstairs who doesn't drink says she feels like sometimes she's treated like a child, that all she's offered is pop when she goes out. And she wanted to know, more about drinks that she could have that don't taste, just like pop. So I wrote that for her. So there's a couple of things you can do really, really easily. Grapefruit juice mixes incredibly well with tonic water. Now, I know certain medications don't mix very well with grapefruit juice, so you win some, you lose some. But grapefruit juice and tonic water is a delicious cocktail. I would. There is a drink called Everleaf. It's not made in the north, unfortunately. Sorry, that's very clever, Jane. No, I look in the supermarkets as well. The other one I would say in Leeds is Latitude Wines in the Arches on Coles. And that's very, very good. That's where I got my absinthe and my yellow chartreuse from. So yeah, Everleaf Aperitif cordial is really good, and that's a kind of proper adult drink that you would mix with tonic water, garnish with a couple of slices of orange. You can get that in Sainsbury's, and bizarrely for a drink that is very, very definitely non-alcoholic, it's in the spirits aisle, and you have to be over 18. They have to verify your identity before you can buy it. I don't know what that's about, but Everleaf is great. Everleaf is really, really nice, actually, and very refreshing. For somebody like me who enjoys a Campari and therefore enjoys the bitterness and the, that kind of interesting mix of bitter and sweet and sour and herby, Everleaf is a really good ingredient. You can mix it with all sorts of things. I keep thinking what it might be like mixed with prosecco for people who do drink, but I've not got to mixing it yet. So I hope that helps, Sue. I now feel really guilty about lifting up a glass of absinthe.
No, there's no need to feel guilty there. But yeah, it's been a great festival, hasn't it, Paul?
It's an absolutely brilliant festival. It's been great being part of it too.
It's been great having you a part of it, really.
Thank you.
Because you've obviously brought a lot of Yorkshire suppliers into it. Obviously, it was you who recommended and got Deliciously Yorkshire and people like that involved. And from that, we've had a lot of suppliers get involved.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the main part about it, how I come up with the idea at first. Yeah. Obviously, in my head, the whole festival would, yes, support hospitality action. And it come about from, let's support the food and drink industry. Yeah. We're all furloughed in the industry. We've all got not a lot to do, to be fair. Chefs like going at 5,000 miles an hour, 15 hours a day, 6 days a week. And
having people enjoy your food. And, that must be really frustrating that there's nobody eating what you're producing at the moment.
Yeah, it kills you. So, like, what I've been doing is giving a little bit to the neighbours and things like that when I've been cooking bits. Like, I've been baking all sorts of different bits and pieces and giving it out as much as I can. Like, I give pizza out the other night when I made my pizzas. So, it's a great little thing to do.
And near to you.
Yeah, Craig said that to me yesterday. He said, "Is there a house near you for sale?" I said, "Yeah, there's one to let next door."
Having said that, Christina Talents from Source Coffee, she tweeted the other day that she's glad she lives next door to me. So that's okay.
Yeah, definitely. And you can pop round for a coffee normally, nice and easy.
I step outside the back door and shout, "Chris, I've run out of coffee."
That's great. But yeah, thanks very much for joining us, Paul. It's been absolutely brilliant. And I must say, your partner's done an incredible job of your logo behind you as well.
Yeah, he painted that freehand. I'll have to give a shout out to my mate Christian, who originally designed it. Christian works for the company that produces the packaging for the Lakes Distillery.
Oh, very wise.
And he once looked at the logo I had before and he went, "I'm going to have to do you another logo. The one you've got's atrocious." So this was a Christmas present. The design of that logo was a Christmas present. And then Graham said, "I can't have you not having your logo behind you when you're doing your live broadcasts." So he painted that freehand yesterday afternoon. And when I did last night, the paint was still wet on it.
It's absolutely lovely. It's been a pleasure having you involved. So I'd just like to give a massive plug to Hospitality Action again. Do you want to say something about the charity as well, Paul, while you're on?
I think, from my point of view, as someone who writes about hospitality, writes about having people in your home, private hospitality, if you like, I know on an emotional level what it feels like not to be able to entertain. If you then add to that the pressures of not earning a living and not knowing when things are going to change, this must be a horrendous time for people in the industry. And I'm seeing it with friends that I've got contact with. There is worry, there is financial difficulty. There's some really practical stuff as well. And Hospitality Action are able to help with all of those things, but they can't do it without money. I think it really is as simple as that. And I think, for people who've enjoyed this festival, you'd have paid £25 for a ticket to a festival, normally for a food festival. So I think, we can find it in our pockets to dig around and find an extra fiver in there.
To chuck into that as well, we've got some amazing competitions and things going on. So one of the competitions we've got going on at a minute is if you donate £10 or above, you will be entered into a raffle for a night stay at Lumley Castle. And there's also the same one.
Am I allowed to enter that?
Yeah, go for, of course. So it's a night stay at Lumley Castle and a meal for two. Wow. For that. And then as part of it as well, so there's going to be two prizes as part of that, is also a cookery class at Hart Hill Cookery School with Brian Miller. So please get donated. Anything above £10 will be donated into that, which is absolutely incredible. Some great little stays there. Lumley Castle is absolutely amazing. And to have food cooked by Craig Sherrington, ex-Great British Menu finalist, would be absolutely incredible. So, yeah, please keep donating. I think we will hit our target tonight. Let's just keep
It's looking
it
like
going.
it, isn't it?
Very much so.
Certainly once the gift aid has been added.
Yes. So, yeah, keep them donations coming, and thank you very much. So here's a little piece of The London Patient from Hospitality Action.
Thank you.
I didn't know that I would become what I now represent. Hope for many talented or HIV cancer patients. Hi, I'm Adam, the London Patient. What drew me to hospitality was my passion for food. I started very humbling as a kitchen porter. I like to cook. I want people to enjoy my food. I think I found a lot of pleasure in that. My HIV started in 2003. At that time, it was very feared when I gave the news to get HIV. Then by 2011, 2012, when I was diagnosed with cancer, but this time fearing my mortality and without knowing what's going to happen. Because I think when you have cancer, the panic sets in. You feel really overwhelmed by the whole, wow, I'm going to die. And for me, it was like the second time around feeling that. I thought I would be prepared for it, but you never prepare for it. By 2015, the final told me, unfortunately, now you become terminally ill. How do you hear about Hospitality Action? I think I heard through Macmillan Cancer Center. Because I was chef, they told me, oh, you know, it's a charity who can help you. How Hospitality Action helped me? I think it helped me in two ways. They helped me financially and later emotionally as well. Financially, during all the treatments and facing homelessness. That was very hard. They maintained my level of safety net. I'm still very grateful for it. They did help me in a really incredible way I couldn't ever even imagine when I received in the post an invitation to go to a Cirque du Soleil. They gave me a big smile because I felt part of our family. I was going to see my doctor and he called me. I was on a double-decker bus and he said to me, I got very good news to you. We find a match to do the transplant, to able to cure, and we're hoping to cure your cancer, but it's something else we want to tell you. We think and we hope we can cure as well your HIV. And then a big smile came to me, wow, I'm actually going to be cured of HIV in my lifetime. I don't think I can believe it. I have a stem cell transplant. Something happened when I had my transplant. I was given a card saying, your life start again, day 0. It's very strange going back to Adam, but now at this time it's different. I go with a sense of purpose, more into helping people and giving hope. And now I treasure my life and I want to live my life to the fullest. How we can describe Hospitality Action to people in the industry, and I would describe it as a compassion charity who cares passionately about the members of the hospitality industry. And the care, and I can tell you from my own experience, how mentally they help me on that situation, to give me a smile in my face, and to able at the same time helping me to keep a roof over my head.
We helped Adam in his time of need when he was just Adam and not the London Patient. No matter who you are or what brings you to us in the first place, we're here to help you, and we'll show you the same compassion, care and support as we did to Adam. Hospitality Action, we've got you.